Hi folks, Chris McLean, Peak Trans here. Another episode of the Peak Performance and Predictable Growth Show, the peak performance show for agency leaders, founders, and owners, where we explore the agency journey from the unique perspective of those at the coalface of the industry. And my guests help unlock and dissect strategies, tools, and tactics that are working right now to help you deliver better results for your clients and grow and scale your business to 6 and 7 figures and beyond. And it's my pleasure to welcome my guest today, Sanad from Beyond Media in Tunisia, who help healthcare businesses add $1 million to their bottom line with paid advertising and automation. Sanad, I love a big promise. Pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Chris. How are you? It's a pleasure to join you today on the show. Thanks for inviting me in.
No, my pleasure. So take us through. How did you end up in healthcare? Did you have a healthcare background, or was it just something you sort of fell into? How did you wind up with a healthcare niche?
No, actually, when I started my agency, it was more of a creative agency. We didn't really have a niche, so we started testing a few different niches. We worked with healthcare businesses, chiropractors, plastic surgeons. We worked with a couple of real estate clients, and we also have one e-commerce client. But by the time we after probably 5 months of running the agency, we decided to niche down to plastic surgeons. So basically, mainly right now we only work with plastic surgeons, and we have such amazing results for our clients. And we found it like that's the sweet spots for us to get amazing results for our clients. And in terms of the systems and processes that we set up for our clients, and also in terms of the results we can get them. So that was the journey on how we ended up working with mainly healthcare professionals, mainly plastic surgeons.
Wow, and is that globally? You work sort of across the globe, or you sort of focused sort of in the Middle East region, Middle Eastern sort of European region, or?
Actually, my company, I am based in Tunisia, but my company is in the UK. So,
right. Okay.
The main markets we work in is mainly the UK and North America, both Canada and the US.
Okay, amazing. And in terms of services, are you helping them? Is it more? I mean, what works best in that industry? Because that's I imagine there's a lot of. It might be a pretty hard. Running ads around healthcare and plastic surgery. Is there a lot of is it difficult to get ads approved and that kind of thing for that kind of niche? And what platforms tend to perform better?
So we basically it's kind of hard to stick with the constantly changing, especially Facebook ad policies, in terms of the changing policies every time now. And so we try to keep it as efficient as possible in terms of the ads we run and the creatives we use for our clients. But to answer your question, we mainly use Facebook ads, and we help our clients with setting up the advertisements and the ad copy whatsoever. And we also help them with developing the sales funnels and the follow-up systems. And so basically, we take care of everything in terms of marketing for them, right? We help them streamline all their patient attraction through Facebook advertising and patient acquisition systems, eventually through sales funnels and email follow-ups and SMS follow-ups and that kind of systems, right?
Okay, so really focused on that front end, generating new leads, generating new business for the clinics.
Yeah,
amazing. And how does that? I love your big claim that you add $1 million in revenue to your client's business. Is that something that you? Obviously, that's a pretty bold claim. Is that something that you do regularly? Is that because it is a pretty high ticket industry that you're able to see those kinds of returns?
Yeah. So I know that it sounds or it seems like a very bold claim, but when it comes down, when you break it down into small steps and you do the math, it's really something very achievable, because these kind of businesses, especially in the plastic surgery industry, they sell really high ticket services, right? Especially like different surgery or procedures like breast augmentation and different plastic surgery procedures. They are really high ticket services, and the average in terms of when we talk about marketing, the average order value for an average client, for example, doing online marketing with us, is around, let's say, for example, in the UK market, the average package we sell is for around £6,000. So it's really not a lot, and we have a guarantee for our clients of 20 booked appointments every single month, right? So so yeah, when doing the math, it's not really that high in terms of revenue.
Yeah, it certainly makes it easier when you got that sort of high ticket sale on the back end. Yeah. Really, really nice. Yeah. So in terms of some of the regulations, as we sort of touched on briefly, that it's probably a fairly highly regulated industry, anything medical, anything we're showing even bodies, right, or talking about even just some of those words, like even just the word breast could be something that could get blocked on even though it's, and these sorts of things can get blocked. How have you made sure that you're on top of all of that? How do you become the expert in that space? Is it just over time? Have you had to do sort of additional learning to become great in that space, to understand how to kind of play by those rules?
Honestly, I didn't really, when I started, I didn't really have an extra maybe education in some sort of way, but it was really by practice. We got a lot of ads, like hundreds of ads, refused or declined from Facebook, and we just needed to tweak and twist every single ad every single time we get an ad rejected. And by time we gain that experience, and whenever I onboard a media buyer with us, I share with them the do's and don'ts of Facebook ads when it comes to the plastic surgery market.
What can you take us through some of those? What are the most interesting ones that you sort of found, the things you really need to avoid, or the things that work really well?
Even sometimes, like, they are really general things, and they do not specifically apply to the healthcare industry or specifically to plastic surgeons, but they generally applies to every single type of ads. Like, you don't really have to show a lot of skin in the ad creative, and you cannot. There's some sort of terms you cannot use for in the ad copy, for example, like you mentioned, breast can sometimes trigger the algorithm for sexuality or nudity, and it really even sometimes in the sales funnel, right? Because sometimes when we, for example, advertise a breast augmentation offer for one of our clients, we use their case studies and before and after gallery of their their patients in the sales funnel, right? But sometimes the Facebook algorithm triggers those creatives on the sales funnel, and they just decline the ad or ban. Sometimes they even ban the whole ad account.
Wow, yeah, because it's not just the ad that Facebook's looking at, right? It will go through, the algorithm will go through the entire funnel.
Yeah, so it's a very smart algorithm, Facebook ad, and it really goes through the whole sales process or the sales funnel that you set up from the front end till the back end.
Yeah. So how do you then, you also do automation, you automate that entire process. How do you make sure that you're sort of picking up and automating that process so that you're getting as many people sort of through that funnel if people drop off? Is it sort of the email side of automation? Is it retargeting? Is it a bit of everything? What's your sort of go-to for that?
Yeah, so we started using our own platform. We have our own plastic surgery automation marketing automation platform, where we basically, whenever we onboard a new client with us, we use our own platform to help them develop the funnels, develop the automations. We mainly use email sequences and SMS sequences, voice notes too. So it's really a full stack approach to follow up and systemization of the back end side of running an advertisement campaign.
And was that something that you just, there wasn't the right thing in the market to do exactly what you needed to do, so you built your own? Is that kind of what that building your own platform came out of? Is it just more efficient, more effective to have a custom built platform?
Yeah, I think it's really it was really efficient for us, and we have been working on it for a very long period of time, especially during Q4 of last year. And that's when we eventually started testing the platform in the market and trying, to create that product market fit and see whether the market will, our market will eventually respond to positively to our new product, right? And it went from there, but it really, by time, we really found out that it drastically increased our retention rate, and it made our clients happier with us, working with us, because it really facilitated the whole process of onboarding a new client, and even in terms of reporting later on. Because you are probably aware of this, but what we used to do is basically different sets of software like Zapier and ActiveCampaign and different other platforms, ClickFunnels whatsoever. And it was really complicated, and in terms of the setup, and also in terms of the scalability and how to keep up with different software and different processes and systems of the whole funnel from the front end to the back end of the funnel. It's really hard to keep up when you have different aspects that you need to keep your head around. So yeah, it started from there, the idea.
It can be tricky when you're trying to kind of patch everything together or sort of stick it together with Zapier, right? Zapier tends to be the intermediate when you can't make it work platform to platform. You just stick some Zapier automations in there, but I imagine it can get quite complicated. And
I totally agree with you. I really love the software. I use it on a daily basis, but sometimes it gets tricky.
Yeah, I guess it makes a lot of sense for someone like yourself, where you're essentially doing the same sort of automation over and over. If you've got a platform that just does that thing, that's going to make it a lot more efficient and effective, rather, because you're essentially, if you're running the same type of client all the time. So now that you're super niched in that plastic surgery niche, it would make a lot of sense if you're running. Is it essentially the same?
Yeah, it's basically
every single time.
Yeah, it's basically the same process. We do it over and over again. So
yeah,
it literally doesn't. So at the moment, it really doesn't take us a lot of time to onboard a new client. We can really get, whenever we sign a new deal with the new client, we really can get them on board and get them up and running within 3 to 4 days, because it's basically copy pasting the same process for the different offers that we run. And in general, we are running a lot of breast augmentation offers. So that seems to be the number one surgery. Usually, plastic surgeons would be interested in promoting, right? So it really gets easier from our end.
And there are differences across markets. You say sort of breast augmentation, sort of the number one thing. Are there intricacies or slight differences between? I mean, I guess the UK and Europe are quite similar. Are there many differences between different countries? Do you find that there's specifics that you need to adjust for?
Yeah, I would say that for sure, advertising in the US and Canada is way more easy than in the UK. In the UK, it really gets tricky, and it really gets more, conservative when it comes to data, especially when advertising to these kind of, especially in the healthcare industry. You are not supposed, or you are not eligible to advertise for example, coupons or discounts on healthcare services, just like plastic surgery, different procedures whatsoever, right? When in the US, we are running, discounts, offers on a daily basis for our clients. So it's not really a big deal. We can do that, but in the UK, it's not, it's not possible to do that. And it really gets tricky when the subject of collecting users' data in the UK and generally in Europe is more complicated and more sensible than in North America. That's what we found out by doing business in the UK with different plastic surgeons and clinics.
Yeah, so it's really important to understand each individual market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And understand the regulations, particularly you sort of say you are operating within a much more regulated industry.
Yeah, yes, that's totally true.
And how do you sort of keep up with that side of things? Is it just research you just have to do? Do you make sure that your team's on top of that stuff, or is it you sort of once you get it handled one time, it doesn't really change that much, or is it something that's kind of constantly changing?
It's not really something that's constantly changing, but to be honest with you, it was a total mess with the first client that we had in the UK. But we learned from those mistakes that we made, and we built up from there. And ever since, it was way simpler and way easier for us to onboard the new clients and get them up and running with us in no time.
Yeah, cool. So let's go even further back. How did you even start an agency? What was that? What made you decide that you wanted to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, start a media agency, and then get focused on Facebook ads? How did that journey start? How did you decide this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because I basically started my agency out of desperation, to be honest with you. It wasn't really something I'm passionate about. I graduated high school 2 years ago, so I dropped out of high school. I didn't go to college, but I started working as I had an experience, or I came to the entrepreneurial world from a tech background. I used to work as a tech manager in a local startup here in Tunisia, and then I worked with them for a good period of time, and then I started working as a consultant. But I really wanted to do something in sales. I knew that I had good communication skills, and I am more of a people person, right? So I can read people, I can communicate with people, and I wanted something in sales. And so I started working as a consultant as a junior consultant in a football agency. So we were basically, trading and representing football players in the MENA region, and both in the MENA region and across Europe, between clubs, right? And it was a great experience. It was what I really needed. High pressure, always on the road, always selling, always doing business with different people from different backgrounds and different business ecosystems whatsoever. And it was the really like the kind of experience I needed to explore different things and really kick off my entrepreneurial journey, right? And when the coronavirus hit, it was really a huge mess in the football industry. I was quite desperate, and I didn't really have a choice. So I would either find a solution, pivot, find something to do, and take responsibility and take full responsibility for what's happening, or I would go broke, right? So I decided to start the agency, and it all started from there.
Right. And did you have some sort of digital media skill set? So you learnt on the fly. How did you get the skill set to do this stuff?
Yeah, when I started my agency, I didn't know anything about digital marketing or Facebook advertising. All I knew is basically I can sell, and businesses will always need customers, right? Those were the two facts that I knew, right? But everything else was being learned from across through the process, right? It was really a huge learning curve for me. I literally locked myself in for say 2.5 months, 3 months, and learned everything about Facebook ads, at least the basics. At this point, I'm more of an expert in Facebook advertising. I really know the ins and outs of the algorithm and the platform, because as I said, it's not really something that was really mysterious for me because I came from a tech background, so it was something familiar to me, right, in some sort of way. But yeah, it was a huge learning curve, and it really changed a lot of perspective from with me. And yeah, I never looked back from there. So that's how it all started.
Yeah, awesome. Love that. Necessity is a great source of innovation. When you've just got to get on with it and you got to find something to do, you kind of work it out. No, I love your attitude. It's perfect. Just looking at the world and say, look, I've got to get something done. I've got to do this thing, and then leaning in and just finding that avenue, and then bringing that sort of strong sales and communication aspect, which I can imagine moving around, particularly in that sort of MENA part of the world, is very interesting, very diverse. And saying very diverse number amount that had to deal with from a sales perspective in football in that MENA region would have been quite diverse and required quite a lot of different skill set and different communication styles and that sort of thing. So I imagine that's been very useful for you now, communicating across the different markets that you communicate to for your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a huge, advantage in my entrepreneurial journey, especially when I started my agency, because, as I said, I didn't have that, that really exclusive or maybe huge, marketing skills or marketing acumen, but I knew how to sell. I knew how to communicate with people. I knew how to, how to communicate with people, understand their fears, problems, and desires, and how to label them to convince them to do stuff and to do business with me, essentially. And and I just figured out along the way. I partnered with few people. I did. It was a one-man show for a long period of time, but eventually when scaling and getting a few clients on board with me and generating that cash flow, it was all reinvested into the business and to bring A players on board to guarantee my clients excellent results and to further scale the agency with those kind of testimonials and good reviews.
So that's where you're at now. So what sort of team do you have? You sort of say you're based in Tunisia, but you operate in the US and the UK. Do you have local teams there, or are you servicing that from a global network as well?
No, I actually have. I usually work. I usually work with contractors from all over the globe, but I have a full-time assistant working with me. She's from the Philippines, and she does everything on a day-to-day basis with me. But in terms of the in terms of the outreach and in terms of the appointment setting, I have also contractors working for me, doing the outreach for me and setting appointments for my agency. And in terms of the service delivery, I also have a media buyer, and I do a lot of. Sometimes I take care of service delivery too, but mainly I only do sales calls at the moment.
Okay, yeah, it's a nice place to be, and you got a little team that, fills the pipeline, and then you can jump in and do what you need to do and take care of that sort of closing aspect, and sort of make sure that you're aligned with the client, that you're bringing the right clients into your business to work with. Really, and you've done this sort of in the last 7 months. So this has been a pretty meteoric rise from sort of nothing to a really nice business for you. So congrats for getting that done so quickly.
Yeah, actually, yes, it was a huge learning curve, as I said, but I think, honestly, the most important skill that any early stage business owner will ever need is sales. You don't need to know how to deliver services. There's people who specialize on that. You don't really need to know how to, as I said, deliver a great service. But the more important thing and the most important thing when starting a business is to set meetings and to close clients. And that's basically how to sell, right? So if you to any agency owner who's just starting out, do not focus on or do not envy yourself, or do not really focus on your service delivery aspect of running your business, but rather focus on, you know, setting appointments with qualified potential clients and eventually closing them. And you just need to figure out along the way. At least that was you know, from my experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect advice. Really, really good advice for anyone, whether you're starting out or whether you're towards the end of your, or middle or end of your agency. You need to get clients on board, right? So you got to have that skill set of identifying and finding the right clients, and then being able to close them.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Otherwise, it's not a business if you're not closing prospects and making some money. So it's a hobby. So no, really good advice. Really good advice. Really appreciate you coming on. And I know it's late for you, so thanks for spending the time and staying here late. If people are interested to find out more about you, they want to chat to you, they want to learn more about what you do, there's a few places up on screen. But where's the best place for people to connect with you?
Oh, okay. So I'm not really a social media guy, but you know, even though my whole business is based on social media, but I'm not really that active on social media. But you can reach me out on, you know, on LinkedIn. I'm more active on LinkedIn, and maybe on Facebook too.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for dropping by. I said I know it's late for you, and yeah, there's a lot of really good insights that you've been able to give in your short but meteoric rise from having to get this thing done and then sort of finding a path. Yeah, I think just from my perspective, congrats on getting up and running and going so quickly. And I think there's a lot that, you know, people starting or continuing with their businesses can learn from that mindset. You've just got to close clients. You've got to understand sales. You really got to understand that proposition and how to influence people, and then close. So really valuable insights.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, for having me today. I really enjoyed, you know, chatting with you and sharing, you know, a few knowledge and a few learning curves that I was able to learn throughout my journey in building my agency. So yeah, thank you so much for giving me the chance to hop on a call with you today and be on the show. And yeah,
absolute pleasure. Great to have you here. And as I said, lots of great insights for everyone in their businesses. And thanks everyone who's been watching, tuning in. We'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.